All right, it looks like online we have Andrew Chorney, Brenna Davis, Cheryl Hartman, Maddie Scott, Melissa Fisher, Shane Stack, and MCAT. In 206, we have Commissioners Vero, Strohmeyer, and Slotnick, Carrie Powers, Allison France, Brian West, Chris Salisbury, Annie Cathy, Christina Dewar, and we have Griffin Smith.
Thank you so much. Is there any public comment on items not on the agenda?
So Griffin picked a slow news day to join us for the 3 consent agenda items.
He never knows.
There you go.
What's gonna happen?
For the Lolo Street Bridge.
That's what I was going to talk about that.
Was that on the consent?
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a quick question about that. Yes.
We have Shane on here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Ask away.
Yeah, I recall a conversation quickly with Josh a few weeks ago that the funding for this seemed a little uncertain, but it seems like you guys are going to sign an agreement to move forward with federal funding.
So this is an interlocal agreement, and it doesn't necessarily dictate whether or not we're still getting federal funding. It just clearly defines, how we're spending local dollars and the federal dollars. So, and also just defines roles and responsibilities between the city and county. I would say that I just got off the phone with FHWA, and they just received a draft agreement. So we have to, in this particular project, we'll have 3 agreements as we move forward. So we're just finishing up the first phase, and we're moving on to the second phase. And before we can obligate the second phase funding, we've got to basically get the second grant agreement signed, or the grant agreement amendment signed. And so it's promising that they're moving forward with that. The fact that he called and said that they have a draft on their end they're willing to send to us is promising. It looks like we might end up, having the project funded.
And maybe a timeline, if you guys have that right now.
Yeah, we do. We're expected to finish up the first phase in June, July, and then probably late winter of 25, finish up final engineering and have it advertised and bid. Expect construction to start in April of 26 and be complete by the end of the fall at a minimum of 26.
If the money comes through and we don't have global economic collapse,
Okay.
which seems to be on the table.
Sure. Let's say the federal funding doesn't come through. Does that put the project on hold? Does this kind of agreement put it on the city's end of things to fund it?
No, I think if the federal funding doesn't come through, definitely, I don't think between the city and county we would have the funding available to just continue and keep moving forward with construction. I can guarantee you we don't have the funding in our budget. Can't speak for the city, but I would guess they don't have it either.
The bridges are our responsibility, but the city's being our partner.
Yes. Right on. Last question, Shane, how many more days do you have left to work?
Gosh, I'll be done June 30th.
We're actually installing a chain. It's chain stuck. He's
Before we leave the Lolo Street Bridge project, though, was I think impeccable timing on FHWA's part. They reached out just 15 minutes ago, and so I just got off the phone with them. They did mention that any savings that we see on the project has to go towards the federal funding. So, this is a $3 million project, $3 million and change. So if we end up building it for 2.9 million, well, the 100,000 savings all goes back to the feds, which we have language in our interlocal agreement, which basically what I'm going to ask the commissioners is don't pass the Lolo Street Bridge interlocal agreement, because we had language in there basically contradicting that. News to us from the feds this morning, and they just said, hey, by the way, we got this new grant agreement and, here's a string. So,
Shane,
Uh,
Shane, does that mean we need to rewrite the interlocal?
yeah, we can't pass it. And I just sent a draft to the city. And so the way we had the language in the interlocal was that any savings that we had, we would put towards the city first, as much as we could. We do have 500,000 in state funds to provide as match. And so, there was the potential that, and would have been an 80-20 split, right? We would have still had seen like 80% would have been savings for the feds and only 20% for local. But what this basically says is, any savings is going to be 100% fed. So we just had to rewrite the interlocal, just one component of that interlocal to reflect that.
Glad you got the phone call
Yeah,
15
yeah,
minutes before this
good,
meeting.
good timing.
With the lead up to removing item 2 from the consent.
Yeah, actually, it was,
That's what Griffin was here
it
for.
was worth it for you to come.
As opposed to,
Yeah.
yeah.
On a positive note, though, like it's promising that they are sending us a grant agreement for phase 2. So
Just interesting thing to add to this. What we're dealing with here is happening in more than 3,000 local governments across the country, basically simultaneously. Road and bridge projects everywhere, every corner of the country are in this weird state of limbo purgatory. And just to kind of wrap your mind around what that means for uncertainty writ large across America. That's the moment we're in.
I do have one more follow-up question for Shane. Has the federal government done these agreements before where they want 100% back? Is this kind of the first time you've seen an agreement kind of like this?
100% of savings, not 100.
Savings,
Yeah.
I don't know, because every project seems to go over. It's rare. It's rare that we see savings. But I would say with this one, so far, we are either ahead of schedule or on schedule, and budget wise, it looks really good. So it's, we'll see where the bids come in. It's entirely possible that we do see savings.
Thank you. Thanks, Griffin.
Yeah. Glad you're here for this one.
Any more public comment on items not on the agenda?
This was consent agenda, right?
No.
Oh, we didn't even get to
No,
that
we
yet.
didn't even get to that yet.
Wow.
Very exciting.
Wow.
Preemptive
Yeah, so
conversation.
now the consent agenda, we need to just pull anything out or discuss anything separately.
Item 2 is postponed.
Item 2 is postponed.
I move that we approve items 1 and 3 on the consent agenda.
Second that.
Okay, any further discussion or public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Shane. Thanks, Griffin,
Thank
for
I am just,
part of that conversation.
how would that have worked if our meeting had been half an hour earlier?
You would just have to go back and revise the interlocal.
It would be, yeah.
Yeah.
So we can just do this all.
Unamended
Right.
interlocal would come before you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shane. Okay, have a great morning, everyone.
Yeah.